everyone! In today's video, I will be showing you what it was like to visit Vegas shortly after the hotels were opening back up during the pandemic. So we stayed at the Cosmopolitan during the last week of August, and in this video, I will be showing you some of the changes to the hotels as well as the Strip. So first off, as we were driving around, we were noticing there was not a lot of people walking on the Strip, and we got here Friday morning and we were looking around like, wow, usually there's way more people out and about, and we were noticing the streets were pretty empty and it was just a little bit of a ghost town. You know, obviously there's cars around and everything. I think more people are checking in. So I have a feeling during the week it's probably even slower, but this first day when we were pulling in, we were pretty surprised because normally on a Friday morning, I think it was like maybe around 12:30ish, so I guess afternoon, there are already tons of people everywhere. You know, a lot of times they get there Thursday night or whichever. So I was really noticing that the streets were pretty empty. So they have a different system for when you check in too. They had a bunch of plexiglass up between all the guests, and they had somebody directing everyone where to go, so you kind of stood in lines distanced, and we also went for a cocktail after since our room wasn't quite ready. So we sat in the bar and they had us keep our mask on until our cocktails actually came. I went through and Clorox wiped the rooms. If you've seen my previous video, I like to Clorox wipe my rooms before I settle in and everything, so this wasn't any different. When we checked into our room, we got an amenity kit, which had 2 face masks, also had hand sanitizer and a stylus, which I learned the stylus is not only for the little iPad in there, but it's also so you can touch, elevators, buttons, remotes, things like that with it as well, so your fingers aren't touching it. So I kind of like that. We actually got an additional one too during our stay, which was great. And I love that they are providing those now. After we unpacked, we took a little walk down the Strip and just kind of looked around. It was still pretty empty. I would say it was around 5:30 or so. And yeah, there was not a lot of people still on the Strip. So Friday morning, afternoon, evening so far was pretty dead. The people we did see, most of them were wearing face masks. And we actually sat up here too. This is from our balcony, and we watched a lot of these water shows that the Bellagio puts on, which are really nice, but we were able to actually see down there too. I actually brought binoculars. Most of the people were wearing face masks. There were several that weren't still, and during this time again on a Friday night was pretty empty, but it did get more crowded on our stay during Saturday night. Was pretty packed on the Strip. The next morning we woke up, we had breakfast delivered. Everything was pretty much covered in plastic wrap, so that was nice. And we went down to the pool area at the Cosmo and had some drinks there. You do have to wear a face mask the entire time that you are near the pool area, unless you are actually in the water or sipping on your drink. If you have a drink literally up to your mouth, you don't have to, but if it's just in your hand, they came by and actually told us, unless it's actually in your mouth, you need to have your face mask on. So I think that's kind of important to know. It is very hot out in Vegas, so I felt like we were drinking quite quickly or in the water. Most of the time there wasn't too much laying out. So this was about the closest we got to seeing a show in Vegas, the Bellagio fountains here. Just because there was nothing really open, there was a show with guys in tiny little outfits, and there was also a pole dance learning class. And other than that, all the shows weren't open, so we didn't see any, but we were happy at least to see the Bellagio fountains. And they were playing different songs throughout the whole day, so it was really nice to be able to see that at least. Also, normally the streets right around here are super cluttered. It's hard to be able to see it unobstructed. But this time was different, of course, because of COVID, not as many people. So we were able to line up right at the front and watch the show. So that was really nice and totally different than previous experiences where you're looking over all these heads. So Saturday night, we took a little stroll down the strip and we walked from the Cosmopolitan to the Venetian to this little Mexican food place that we always eat at inside the Venetian. We just love it. So I noticed I went and used the restroom, and when I was washing my hands, I noticed there's plexiglass in between each of the sinks there. So that was different. I hadn't seen that yet. I think they're just trying really hard to keep everyone safe. There was also a lot of hand sanitizing stations throughout, as most of the casinos had throughout at the entrances and the exits. Everyone seemed to be really on top of that. I hadn't found a station yet that was empty. They were doing really good about refilling, wiping down door handles and things like that. Also, they do thermal scanning, which is different. I definitely hadn't seen that before, so that is something new. I saw at the Venetian. I didn't see signs at any of the other casinos or hotels that we walked in. The other casinos did, however, though, have a lot of plexiglass in between, and everyone was required to wear a face mask as well when they were gambling. Our final full day was Sunday, so we decided to rent a cabana, which was an excellent buy. It was so nice to have your own little space in there too and get away from that intense heat. So they asked that you wear your mask inside the cabana even, but it was so nice just again to be out of the direct sun. And also again, same thing if you were having cocktails or if you were eating, which we were doing a lot of both, I think, you were allowed to have your mask off during those times. So that was nice, and we did take several little dips in the pool. Another thing to point out too, even though your mask was allowed to be off for eating, drinking, obviously, their mask was on the entire time. So every time they were talking to you, it was always on. If they were serving, whatever they were doing, they always had a mask on. I'm sure it was very hot on their part, but I think it makes people probably feel a lot more comfortable. Also, another thing to mention at the pool here, you had to scan the menu. They had a little card, and you can just scan it to pull up the menu on your phone, and it's pretty much the same for all of the restaurants on the strip. And that's pretty much it. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit subscribe, like it, and please feel free to comment with any questions. We stayed at the Cosmo again. We visited and spent a lot of time at the Venetian while we were here. We also spent time at Paris, Flamingo, Harrah's, Bally's, gambling. So any questions, feel free to comment below. Thanks, guys.